Remember when there was a killer on the loose at John Adams High? Let's go back.
Tamagotchi,
Of Y2K.
So a quick editor note before this video begins. This video was actually meant for last year, but I had so many issues uploading it to YouTube that I just put it on a hard drive and it's been sitting there ever since. Now that I have a better understanding of YouTube, I was able to re-edit it, and the only reason I mention this is because there's references to a Halloween TGIF video I did, but that was from last year. Anyway, enjoy! The year is 1998, and Boy Meets World is in its 5th season. I was a bit disappointed after doing the TGIF Halloween video and Boy Meets World didn't have a Halloween themed episode. Or at least a spooky one. I remembered the episode And Then There Was Sean. It was one of the best episodes of Boy Meets World to ever air. I decided I would build my TGIF Halloween video this year around this particular episode, but to my surprise it wasn't a Halloween episode. This episode actually aired on February 27th, which is a bit odd to say the least. However, I wanted to discuss this episode for the Halloween episode because it's a tribute to 90s horror films and used to air as reruns during the Halloween season constantly. And without a Boy Meets World Halloween episode on this year's TGIF video, it seemed like the perfect opportunity to cover And Then There Was Sean. According to fan votes on IMDb, it has a staggering 9.4 rating. It's the highest rated episode on the platform, coming in just above the finale. Just 4 months earlier in October 1997, I Know What You Did Last Summer was released in theaters, and the star of that film, Jennifer Love Hewitt, guest stars in this episode. Turns out it wasn't just because of the film though. She was dating Will Friedle, who plays Eric at the time of this filming. I've been looking forward to revisiting this episode for a while now, so let's not waste any more time. Let's go back to February 27th, 1998 for Boy Meets World Season 5, Episode 17, And Then There Was Sean. The episode begins with Sean coming into class. He's upset because Corey's in his seat. A quick bit of information from earlier in the season since it's important to the plot of this episode. Corey and Topanga are currently broken up after Corey decided to explore his feelings for another girl at a ski resort, played by Linda Cardinelli, which is another highly rated episode. Okay, back to this episode. Corey explains he's sitting there because he wants Sean to sit between him and Topanga as a bit of a buffer. This guy, who will come to know as Kenny, asks to borrow a pencil from Topanga, and Sean reacts like this.
They're not divorced, Kenny. It's just a trial separation. And don't think I don't know what borrow a pencil means, okay?
Angela is confused as to why Sean is so obsessed with Topanga and Corey, and Topanga tells her it seems that Sean's taking the breakup harder than her and Corey. Feeney's had enough of all the classroom drama, but Sean keeps it going by saying this.
I'm sure if you recall the pain of being stabbed in the back by a girlfriend.
This ignites an argument between Corey and Topanga. It's been a while since I've seen the Ski Lodge episode, but from what I can remember, Corey was definitely the one who messed up. But I also think Topanga gave him the okay to explore his feelings? I don't know, it's the whole we were on a break situation with Ross and Rachel. Feeney says everyone in class is getting detention, but it seems like it's just Corey, Sean, Angela, Topanga, and Kenny.
All I wanted was a pencil.
Oh, shut up, Kenny.
Sean tells everyone he's gonna go get some cheese he left in his locker. Sounds like diarrhea waiting to happen to me. But the door is locked. The janitor peers through the window and we get a handheld camera shot as the first nod to horror film tropes. Sean asks the creepy janitor if he has a key and he shows him a bunch of keys, but then he just walks away. He doesn't get paid enough to deal with that shit. Just as Topanga and Angela express their growing fear, this happens. Sean says this has to be an elaborate hoax orchestrated by Feeney, and Corey agrees with him. He thinks this is another one of Feeney's way to teach them a lesson, but they're not sure what the lesson is. Sean becomes the Abed of the show and points out that these are all classic horror film tropes. The locked door, the scary janitor, the bloody warning, and the first victim, Kenny.
Why me?
Well, Kenny, it's certainly not going to be any of us. What are you doing?
There's a knock at the door and Sean says this is the part of the film where something horrible will walk through that door. Eric and Jack say they were shooting some basketball and wanted to check out the old stomping grounds a bit, but they tell the gang the hallways are really creepy tonight and the janitor seems off. Oh, and Eric saw blood coming out of the showers, which is probably something he should have led with. Sean says once again this is a classic horror film trope, and it's unfortunate that Kenny has to be the first to die.
I really wish you'd stop saying that.
Jack asks what the hell is going on, and Corey thinks Feeney's doing all this because he knows detention will no longer scare them. He needed to take it to a level. While the gang continues to discuss their situation, a hand slides into the classroom and turns off the lights. When they come back on, it's revealed that Kenny is indeed the first victim, with a pencil through his head. How poetic.
My gosh! They killed Kenny!
They run into the hallway and the lights flash while a strange old-timey song plays. Topanga says she doesn't care if this is real or not, she's scared and she wants to get out of there. They do their best impression of Scooby-Doo and check to see if any of the other doors are unlocked, but unfortunately for them, they're not. I mean, at this point, I'd be chucking a desk through a window, but that's just me. Sean continues to predict what will happen and says now some strange figure will creep behind them, but none of them will see it. Mr. Feeney finally appears in the hallway. They all feel relieved until Sean taps Feeney on the shoulder and he collapses to reveal someone stabbed him in the back with scissors. This is the first time Sean was wrong about the situation, and he begins to panic. Sean says virgins never die in these kind of horror films.
Thanks for saving me.
Wait, if virgins are the only ones who survive in this, then that must mean Feeney fucks. My man! Angela suggests they split up, but Sean says that's a bad idea. Corey says the janitor has to be the killer. Sean goes on some more about horror tropes, and Topanga says he's wrong.
You were wrong to break up with Corey.
What does that have to do with anything?
Yikes. If there wasn't a killer on the loose, this would be quite the awkward moment. They rush back out into the hallway to see a garbage container roll in. Inside is the janitor's body.
The killer's dead! We're off the hook!
Sean says the death of the janitor indicates the end of the second act, where the last obvious suspects are ruled out, which means only one thing.
The killer. He's one of us.
My girl Topanga isn't buying that though, and says they need to find a way out. Eric unwittingly volunteers to stay in the hallway and find a way out. He turns around and runs into Jennifer Love Hewitt. Eric accuses her of being the killer, and nothing she says will ever convince him otherwise.
I believe you.
This was not my high school experience at all. This sort of thing would end with a can of mace. She tells Eric her name is Jennifer Love Hefferman, and she's a new student who got locked inside the study hall. Hold up, stop the episode. So she's a high school student and Eric is a college student? Eric, I'm gonna need you to step away from the minor. Just before Eric can commit a felony, the gang comes out of the classroom and are interrupted by the phone ringing.
I am the screamer around here.
I just went off on Eric making out with a minor. I'm not gonna touch that joke. On the other end of the phone, someone asks Jack if he likes scary movies, just like Ghostface and Scream. Jack explains he likes the movie with the hottie from Party of Five, which is a show Jennifer Love Hewitt is on, and she says,
Nev Campbell?
Duh.
They all realize they can use the phone to contact someone on the outside, but as soon as Eric grabs it, he pulls the cord from the phone. 90s problems, am I right? Magically though, the phone rings again and Eric answers this time. He tells everyone that it was the killer and everyone should just stay right there. So they all run off into the library. Topanga tells Angela she doesn't trust Jennifer, and Eric asks Jack since when did the school have a library? Despite Sean's own advice, he suggests it's time to split up. So they do. Corey goes with Jennifer. He confesses he's a bit scared and she says they'll get out of this and kisses him on the cheek while Topanga watches in the background. Suddenly, books fall onto Jennifer and this apparently does enough damage to kill her. See kids, books can be dangerous, so stay away from them. Before Jennifer croaks, she tells Eric she saw the face of the killer, but just before she can say who it is, books fall onto Eric who dies as well.
Oh, he was my friend.
I didn't really know her.
Jack says now he can't afford the rent to his apartment and no longer wants to live, which with today's rising housing costs, this doesn't seem like a ridiculous reaction. Jack stands on the ledge ready to jump, but Angela comes to the window and talks him down and explains that Sean's still his roommate, so they can still make rent together. Corey, Topanga, and Sean face the masked killer. The killer puts Corey and Topanga's hands together. Sean removes the killer's mask to reveal... Have you guessed who it is yet? It's Sean! Sean wakes up in class to realize it was all a dream. Sean stands up in class and asks Feeney to let everyone leave because he's the reason they're all in detention in the first place. Feeney asks him why he thinks that, and Sean explains.
You guys have been together since before I even knew you. And if you're not, then I guess I feel like there's nothing I can depend on.
Corey, Topanga, and Feeney console Sean and say it's not his fault, like divorced parents comforting their child. Feeney says that everyone can go home. Feeney turns off the light, but as he leaves, the killer can be seen sneaking out. And thus concludes the episode, And Then There Was Sean. My final thoughts are going to be biased on this episode because I grew up with Boy Meets World, but I think this episode still holds up. It's a nice little bottle episode that kind of strayed away from the main narrative, while also being able to have a connection to it with Corey and Topanga's breakup. Having seen many teen horror films of the time, I think it's a nice little love letter to the genre. But again, I have to question why this wasn't aired in October. I mean, nothing says Valentine's Day like teens being murdered, I suppose. I hope you enjoyed this look back at one of the most memorable TV episodes of the 90s with me. And maybe you had a little bit of a spook while doing so? Probably not, but still. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. And remember, every like will help contribute to Eric's lawyer fees. Happy Halloween, everyone.